Wow, what an amazing regrouping, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. The reset here on Maui and here with our Zoom. So I say to people, I'm out of the COVID cave, and but it was not bad in there. It was a coming home of sorts, and no matter what in regard to identity, we sometimes don't give ourselves permission to attend to what the body mind is wanting to experience. And I think that to some degree it happened in this case. So the reason that I think that was because after the first 24 hours, when I had a really extreme laryngitis and sore throat, after that, I received just the giftedness of the isolation in terms of the environment. But I'm never, ever apart from all of you, the ones that all of you here and all of you there, because we've had that once the connection is made, it's in place. I always say, as I've said to a lot of you, we had a cosmic date and we kept it, and there's nothing to do about it and no need to try to activate it. It's in place, and it's the one I am. So I'm so happy for us today to be here together. Who is that?
Cyrus.
We'll
Cyrus.
go around.
Oh, we're going to go around
Let's
the
go
room.
around and
That would
say,
help me.
so
Yeah.
Polly knows.
Yeah.
Cyrus.
Sue.
Bonnie.
David.
Les,
Elise.
Gio, Max,
Amora. Grace.
Robert.
Sheena.
And then on the back row, we have,
Steve, Maria,
And
oh,
and James.
and James at the front row.
Yes.
sorry.
Beautiful.
and from Siri has also joined.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. So the illusion of separation is dispelled when we decide to gather and to acknowledge each other as the body minds, right? But that's the illusion, because the oneness is what is. So let's just close our eyes now. What is our time for the first meditation?
About 5 minutes.
About 5 minutes. So during that 5 minutes, we will, I will do some bit of induction just to reclaim what we already know about our alive, awake awareness. But now we'll use our breath on the inhale to, it's as if we're reaching out in consciousness and gathering back our attention particles and coming home. And in this home, that is our true nature, we relax, falling in, falling down into the heart that is the one I am. And on another breath, reclaiming the attention and the consciousness, the awareness, just bringing it back to the spacious, awake awareness, and know ourselves as that. And in our knowing ourselves as that, we experience it more and more as source. So we start to have the experience of reality arising and then showing up. It's arising and showing up. It's not something out there that's happening to a me here. It is arising in the space of the one I am, and then materializing into the fun and the beauty of this 3D reality. And so we find in this moment, as we relax into awareness, we find our participation in all of that. Right? It's not happening to us, it's happening through us, and it's showing up in total consonance and connection to who we're being. And that measure of who we're being is who we're being to ourselves. And so we are at home now, together here, acknowledged home, always there, never not this. And what a beautiful time this is. Thank you all. And so it is. Is that 5 minutes?
Close enough.
It was close enough, yeah. Yeah, the message that comes when we gather like this is from all of us. I speak it, but it's not other than the one. Living from this place, living from this space, living from this acknowledged awareness of what's true. That's the opportunity at this particular time in collective consciousness. And much of it is being expressed through spiritual teachers of great renown and small groups and sanghas like ours, where we are seeing in each other and knowing in ourselves the experience of the arising of reality, the way in which reality shows up. Sometimes the image that comes up, especially recently, or at least in the pseudoscience that I read, the images of the tube torus, and it's like this energetic field with awareness, aliveness, consciousness arising and overflowing, and as it overflows, it creates. Right. And so it's this ongoing, it's not linear, it's not cause and effect. It's not I put in something here and get something out here. It's this connection. It's this string theory. It's this quantum field. And the wonder of that, it just lives in us as we relax our minds out of its conditioned nature, which was programmed as cause and effect. As we relax out of that, we don't have to argue with it. We just have to come home, back out a little bit, away from the linear insistence that there's something wrong and I can figure out how to fix it. So if there is a problem, that would be the problem, the idea that there's something that shouldn't be the way that it is. And the way that the first step toward relieving ourselves of that is that whatever it is, and there's no need for us to judge it. That will be the first step backing out of it. And then at that point, you see what's happening. And because you're no longer self-judging because of this work that you're doing, that we are doing, right? No more self-judgment. Now there's not the lens through which we perceive the world or an issue or a person as being a problem. It's just what's happening, and we're totally available for the connection. If we're still employing the lens of self-judgment, we won't experience the oneness because we've separated ourselves with our self-judgment, often it being experienced as if it's judgment of an apparent other or a situation. But most all of you have heard my conclusion about judgment is that all judgment is self-judgment. And that comes from the experience here of when the self-judgment fell away, there was no separation with this body-mind, this consciousness, and everything, in quotes, in it, or showing up in that field. So we come to know oneness not by thinking of an other that I've got to either accommodate or include or connect to, but the oneness comes because there's no separation. I am that. And that is experienced when that self-judgment that got installed so early on that we call the childhood wound, which is a good way to talk about it, although it probably had its origins in what most of us would think of as past lives. But most of us now are starting to think that time is not linear sequential. So what the hell is past, right? It's like, no, we start to come home to our true nature, the spaciousness, and we know ourselves as one, as the field in which arises all of creation, the fun of that, the peacefulness of that. And so the qualities of our true nature as awareness begin to imbue the field through resonance. The frequency of connection, the frequency of our true nature, as it's emitted into the quantum field, is responded to in an apparent arising, others, circumstances, life, as an apparent arising of love, as an apparent arising of consonance instead of dissonance. So our part in how reality shows up, collectively and individually, has to do with what our frequency is. And the frequency of self-judging is one of fear. And as that's to the degree that that's still at play in your experience, and this beautiful piece of reality that you represent, as that falls away, then your world changes. As a Sangha, as that falls away for us collectively, then we redream this reality. And we have impact in ways that we will never know, nor do we need to. And we have impact in ways that make huge shifts in the experience and the projection of this 3D reality. So our part is so precious, really. Our part in changing reality and creating heaven on earth has to do with forgiving ourselves from something that was never true, and the freedom that comes from that, and the experience as that spaciousness opens of the allowing of the love and the awareness that we are to arise and overflow. What if nothing's wrong? All of you here, and probably on the Zoom too, know that that's the name of the book I'll never write. Because it's not my business to write books. My granddaughter, as all of you know, also said what she does is she talks. That's what she does. And for 4 weeks, I wasn't talking. That may have been a relief, not just for me, but for everybody else.
We missed you.
We did.
So today, wherever you are, with whatever this opening evoked in you, wherever you are in your own experience with that, or anything that we can look at together, the New Testament, I'm sure, where Jesus said, when 2 or more are gathered in my name, in the name of awake awareness, in the name of life, I will be there also. And the I am that will be there also is our connection to the quantum field, our connection to reality and how it arises. And so as we gather here, this is the importance of Sangha, is that we are together, consciously together, choosing to be together in whatever the valence of that agreement is. Then this is a potent crucible in which possibilities arise that were not there before. The power of the Sangha is this, to gather in agreement as touching these things, as touching the one I am. I know who I am. You know who you are. We are that. And it's from that this scintillating aliveness and possibility arises. When we're held at the level of cause and effect, then what we're basically doing is working at the level of something that's old and not enlivened. It's like an idea, a thought, a situation, a relationship, a circumstance. Instead of showing up as the one I am, aliveness with this, whatever this is, relationship, a circumstance, a business, an opportunity. When we come into that with this open spaciousness, instead of the idea that I know how to fix it, because that is old, and we will never change reality and we haven't changed reality very much, because we've been held at the polarity of the self-active mind, the origin of good and bad, black and white, all the polarities, being held there, we simply do not access or bring into the possibility a new creation, a new heaven and a new earth comes in as we come in open, as knowing who we are, knowing that we are the awareness in which realities arise. Being back with that reality of your true nature, you're never, ever efforting in the external, and you do whatever needs to be done. But it will not seem like it's efforting because you're not any longer under the illusion that it's going to be fixed out there. Anything that's showing up in the what we call out there, whether it's in our bank account, or our work, or our relationship, anything that we think we can need to fix with what is, we need to see that we need to bring new heaven and new earth into it. What's possible? What do I want? What do I want to experience? Whether it's business or relationship or consciousness, it's all showing up there. Yeah, she does talk, doesn't she? Yeah. Yeah, so I think there probably would be some questions coming from what I've offered today. So let's open the floor, see what we can stir up together.
So Polly, I'd love you to talk a little bit more about the new heaven and the new earth, given that it's Easter time, and it's resurrection time, and
That's right,
we're about to create something new. It's a new beginning.
right.
And a lot of us have seen The Chosen in this room, which is such a beautiful series about Jesus. That is so beautiful, entertaining. It's very entertaining. It's gorgeous.
And it's the story of Jesus' life.
Yes, and how he chose his apostles and the miracles that he created during his time on earth. I highly recommend it to anybody who's looking for. It's the best thing I've seen on screen ever.
I don't know,
But I love
did you all
Jesus, so
hear
you're
that?
a little bit-
Did the Zoom
Yeah,
people hear
yeah,
that?
they're here. I'm
They're
just
here.
trying to get the other. Trying to get the other view. Just give me a second.
Sure.
It's interesting. No,
You want to sit here?
no, it's this tiny little thing I have to see. No.
It looks like you opened the field just a little too far.
I'm trying to do the spotlight, but here we go. Here we go.
Or what service is it streamed on?
There we go.
It's on lots of services.
All right, we're back.
Where we watch
Woo-hoo.
Netflix. And there's an app called The Chosen, and you can get everything from the app.
Or Angel Studios.
Angel Studios.
So season one's on Netflix, and then the next two you have to find elsewhere.
Okay.
On YouTube.
And YouTube has it.
The Chosen. That's what Amora and
It's
some other people are referring us
I'm
to.
on my second one.
That's right. But the question was, the
Oh, that, the new earth. and
the new heaven and the new earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, the new, everything, just using that as an analogy, heaven and earth. Heaven is the consciousness, it's the awake awareness that we are. I think of it as consciousness without objects, right? But in that heaven, that's where everything precipitates out of that into the new earth. But if the heaven is old, if that place is not available for the opening of the freedom from the frequency of fear. So the new earth that we're about creating now, whether it's in this body mind or whether it's in the physicality of this 3D reality, it's informed by consciousness, heaven, and that heaven necessarily, in order to create a new earth, must be clear of fear and low frequency. So whenever we are caught in something like worry or fear, it's not to use that to judge ourselves, but to remind ourselves that there's another possibility. Can I just relax out of my mind based in the past and based in my conditioning, which says this is a problem? Can I just relax out of that and allow in this moment, in this in this idea, like what it might be, for all of us, we have these little arenas that are particularly ours in this incarnation. And so our awake awareness as it arises often shows up as that, because that's this vehicle. It's this human design, yeah. And then, but what we don't want to do is to impose the fear-based limitation. And if we can see it, it's already not as potent as it is when it's unknown, when we just think that's the way it is. Well, nobody ever accomplished that without $1 million and a Harvard degree. We have this conditioning that when it gets imposed, it locks down the frequency. Whereas the peace and the ease of just being with, whoa, okay. It might be an idea about something creative. It might be just an opening into the realization, the real eyes to see that I'm not apart from, I didn't feel apart from any of you this 4 weeks when I was in the COVID cave. It was just, it felt so alive and so populated with love and connection and ease. And then I had people who were visiting and care and feeding Pali during that time, which is precious. So to understand that whatever is happening in the earth has been precipitated out of what I was calling the new heaven. And if it's not the new heaven, if it's consciousness still held at the level of cause and effect, then it's not going to be a new earth. Yeah. It's going to be what we've typically been experiencing for many of us most of our lifetimes, which is just one more shit show, just one more difficulty. People gravitating into connection with each other around something that's wrong. That's what motivates us, because we've been caught in believing that we had to fix the external reality in order to have a different experience. So that's the error that gets corrected when you start to be present without the mind with its rational analytic imposition. It's got to make sense. There's cause and effect. Don't be so, what are we called when we're airy-fairy, woo-woo, all of that. Yeah. Yeah, so the new heaven and the new earth is available all the time, whether it's the earth of this body-mind unit or the earth of our apparent 3D reality. It's always being informed and enlivened by consciousness, by who am I.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Perfect
that.
answer.
Yeah.
So if you have a question in the room, obviously you can raise your hand, and if you're on the Zoom room, you can hit the reaction button to raise your hand, or you can just unmute and let me know and I'll spotlight you.
I want to make a comment
Yes, we
on
are.
the, when I came in today, I was thinking, well, the single thing that I've been realizing lately and being able to embody, and then you spoke it in your little opening monologue there, which I love, was about that I've been realizing lately, more than realizing, like feeling and being and embodying, that there is no problem. There's nothing, even all the things that I encounter, like if my life is this huge lesson of what do we want Grace to learn now? It's like there's nothing you can label the problem. Everything just is what it is. And I can just be with everything as it is. You may not like it. I might wish it was different. Might be have a different preference. But I really have been seeing that that's just a label that gets assigned when I'm not being aware and awake. And everything is as it is. And that's the deal right now. And being at peace with what is, even if I wished it was different, is the practice, the primary practice right now. And it's made such a difference. Nothing's changed in my whole being. All my conditions are the same. I still wish this was more or that was better. But it's like, okay, this is what is. And it seems like the longer it goes on, the more the resistance goes away.
Yeah.
If I just go, this is what it is. And that it's okay. I can just ride this wave just where it's
Okay.
going. So that's just my comment because I wanted to
Thank you.
root it for myself.
It's a powerful description of one facet of what I remember in my illusion that I was talking about before I think the last time we gathered, but I think it was this group. But what you're moving into is the availability of no attachment, right? Nothing to get and nothing to resist. Thank you. That's the word I was grouping for. Yeah, so it's in that as we are back with whatever's going on, then it's like if I have resistance, if I feel like the way we've often felt that it's happening to me and it's not fair or I can't deal, it's too much. If we have that, then we don't have a connection to the reality of who we are in reaction, response, relationship to what's happening. And if we are present, and this is what's happening, we are not we're not at the mercy of it. We are congruent with it in a way that gives us access to it. And the first step is what you described, which is allowing things to be what they are, which is better described perhaps by no resistance to what is. The ticket with that caveat is that we'll often believe that we know what is, and then that we legitimately reject it or push it away. Life never has conclusions. We believe that this is the minute that we have experienced something as a problem, then we believe that that's the done deal and we have to address it. Whenever we are seeing things as moving, coming and going and not conclusions, then we will find the nature of our true intelligence will arise in response to it, because now we're not resisting it. And so we have access to it. Anytime we resist anything, we are creating an other, and then we don't have the influence that we would have if we are allowing it to be whatever it is. And then in that spaciousness is wisdom. And we will be informed in ways that we couldn't be when we were caught in resistance.
When there's no resistance, I'm not judging in any way,
Exactly.
whatever
That's
it
it.
is,
Right.
it can just be what it is. And I wonder where this is going to go. I wonder where this
Right.
is going to go. I'm much more curious.
Yeah.
Curiosity is a more relaxing feeling, I'm noting. And yeah.
Yeah, the tendency of what I call the self-active mind, which is believing what you're thinking, is to think that you do know and that you can solve it. But the only way we truly know anything is to be one with it, to not be in resistance, to not separate ourselves from it. It goes back to the definition of to know, and like in the Old Testament was the sexual union, to be one with. To know something is to be one with it, not resist it, not to hold it out there under a microscope or in some kind of disclaimer trying to figure it out and itemize it, but to simply be with what it is, because in that it will reveal itself in a way that it can't when we're in resistance to it. The other thing is that the adage that we all are aware of, what you resist persists. So, it's like that is the energy of resistance holds things into the configuration that you're resisting. Thanks, Grace. We can sit quietly for forever.
Just want to say, it's Bonnie,
Bonnie,
that at sundown tonight is the ancient, in the ancient religion, but my roots are very deep in Judaism, it's Passover. And what Passover is freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always feel it's freedom from myself, really. What has the thoughts that have held me down and held me in worry and fear. It's such an opportunity. This is an opportunity, but that is also an opportunity to let go of it and to find freedom from oppression. So, I mean, way back in the story, it was freedom of oppression from the Egyptian pharaoh, but in my life, it's freedom from my own oppression and an opportunity to celebrate that. So I just want to say, because I think it's always interesting when in the different old religions, something is happening, and that's what's happening. It's a 7-day observation, but it begins at sundown tonight with gathering and a dinner when people gather together. And we're gathering together here.
that's right. Thank you,
Beginning
Bonnie.
for me.
Yeah.
That's a great reminder of the Passover celebration and the freedom from what the Pharaoh does represent is the rational analytic mind that controls and rules and dictates life and death. So we free out of our minds and into our true nature is awareness, and the potential, the possibility is just vibrating. It's alive. Our true nature is alive and well. And we come in and it's a crazy image in my mind. It's like we come in and if it was a great big rising ball of dough, we pinch off things and throw, pinch off, instead of allowing the fullness of that. We limit it and we impose out of our fear of not either being included or not being good enough or whatever it is. We begin to impose and seeing through that that limitation, that imposition. We experience the world as being against us, and that's the dynamic out of being identified as a person with whatever label that early childhood wound left upon oneself, and believing that we're that, then we have a distortion field that's pervasive. And because reality is in the identity of the beholder, that distortion field is compelling and convincing. And we all have many examples that we could probably come up with that are going on even collectively right now because of the distortion field. To be with exactly where one is, with what's happening in this moment, that's the potential for being at one with. And from that place, we have the ability to create from the highest frequencies in consciousness, which are connection and love, instead of our reactive frequencies, which are fearful and separating.
I have a question about what I experience in my own mind is I call the flicker factor. I flicker in and I'm whole and I'm one with all, and I flicker out and I'm affected by something that just occurred and I forget all about that and go back to my worry self. How much do you think the power of us praying for one another affects our experience?
Well, I believe that we're always praying,
Yeah.
basically, and that we're praying for, and that prayer, the prayer is what is the cause in consciousness, because it may not look like what we speak of when we say prayer or even meditation, but the state of the mind is the information that is informing the quantum field, which responds then and shows up as your world. So everything, who you are being and how you are being caught, either in fear or in love or in limitation or in whatever way, notice if you're feeling something that doesn't feel good, you're believing something that's not true. And that can be correlated with some thought that you're having about limitation or apparent others or whatever. But we're always praying. We're praying by who we're being, fundamentally who we're being to ourselves, because that prayer is answered in the quantum field that shows up again as your reality. So when we want to change something out there, you know, the old adage of you don't want to be moving the furniture around on the deck of the Titanic.
Yeah.
You want to come home to where cause in the matter is. Because if there's difficulty out there, individually, collectively, whatever, then there's a belief that's not true. And that belief is enlivened through frequency. And that frequency is information. We are not separate from anything. You don't get to go off in the closet and have an isolated mean thought and come out and say, oh, I'm good, everything's fine. No, who your being is creating all the time. Yeah. So it's an ongoing process. And that flicker part that you mentioned, Lily.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see you here today. I didn't know you were here.
Thank you.
Sweetheart. Yeah. Yeah, that flicker part is just where we are reconfiguring as our true nature. And so it keeps going like that, but the light will come on, and there'll be a point at which the light comes on and it doesn't flicker anymore. And if it does flicker, and you can say, I know what that is, that's my true nature flickering in and reminding me, yeah, it's a good thing. Flicker on.
Flicker on. And what do you think about the power of our own thoughts to help another? Do you think that our prayers actually, is it just about the field, or do you think the field itself nourishes us? It always feels like when I leave here, I feel so nourished.
Right. Yeah, well, that's a setup. You know, it's like I asked you to ask me that question because, yeah, as all of you know, it's one of my favorite stories about Ramana, when the devotee said, but Bhagawan, what do we do about the others? And Bhagawan said, there are no others. So the fullness of everything that is arises here. And it's like that into the reality in whatever way. And there's only one. And it is the awake awareness, the consciousness out of which 3D reality and the fun and glory of experience arises. The fall had to do with the error of us believing, the self-active mind, that we should be as God and eat of the polarity, and that mind could run things, and then we get to be the big top dog or the whatever. Yeah. So that was the split in the rational analytic and in the polarity that's created all the havoc. But it's time to come home now. I don't even know if it was a mistake. I don't get that it was a mistake necessarily. I mean, it's created a monumental craziness in this 3D reality. But now we get to see what we don't want. We get to see who we want to be, how we want to connect, what we want to embody and create and relax into. You can go out of your mind and into your heart and experience the fullness and the wisdom and the solution to anything, because it's there. Our true nature as awake awareness is what we would call our heart. It's a field, I think, that, you know, we can talk about it as the heart chakra, but it's basically the quantum field. And our interaction with that and our input into it is what creates and enlivens our world. So as we are of one mind, that means that mind is the heart. Here we are of one mind, which is the heart, which is the source, and everything arising there is arising out of connection and love and the higher frequencies. And everything that's arising out of the mind that needs to control is arising out of fear. And it creates what it implies that it will and has and does. Limitation and a feeling of inadequacy and the fear-based self-definition. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
So Kim has a question.
Where's Kim?
I'm here. I am technologically brought to you. Thank you, Robin. Let me see. Unmute myself. I am unmuted. Okay. I have a lot of discomfort when you or anyone talks about create what you want, create the new world. I feel very comfortable with life arising from awake awareness through the higher vibrations, creating a new world. But the idea of I can create my new world, I don't trust anything that thinks it's an I or that would have a want to create what you want. So I feel the resonance, of course. I mean, you know this. I get that what I am experiencing here is myself, is the arising of myself and the pointing back to myself to find out where I'm caught in my wound. And life is arising from the wound, or my experience of life is arising from the wound. And so it's very useful as a scripture of my soul, what my my apparent surround is. But when it comes to me consciously wanting to change that, I feel like it's very dangerous because I could believe that I'm creating out of awake awareness and I could be in la la land. And I've certainly run into a lot of that in my long life amidst the New Age spiritual community.
Right.
And so I'm putting this out to ask you to speak about it. Yeah, also just to say thank you, and it's wonderful to see you.
Yes, I'm so glad to be here. Yeah, the fail-safe on what your concern is that frequency rules. The reason that all of the movement that all of us were of some level participating in, whether it was through a unity church or what were those things called when you dream board or a vision board?
Vision board.
Yeah, that when all of us were doing that, all of that was, and as far as I know, and I'm sure it's not 100% true, but much of that was being accessed and engaged in through what your concern legitimately is, right? And that is that I want something to be different than it is, that I want to get something or avoid something. And that is always fear-based, and it's always a motivation of the ego. So what we can trust, the fail-safe, is frequency rules. And you can relax out of your mind and into your heart on that basis. The truth of who we are, the one I am, is never wanting anything. It's experiencing the arising and overflowing, like I just using the geometry of the tube torus, like arising and overflowing. But the fail-safe that I think might be helpful for you is to understand that, because I think sometimes that the error that we get pulled into is the belief that if things look a certain way on behalf of another, then and they are resisting true nature, and they are diabolical, and they are motivated by fear and the need to control, and yet they appear to us to be getting something. You know, that's the illusion. That's the idea that you can ever know what an apparent other body-mind unit, isolated and experiencing itself as being isolated, is experiencing. But the idea of I create my own reality, it is only true at the level of frequency. But that's the pervasive level. That's where everything is coming into play. And so when you have a sense of unworthiness, and your frequency thereby is one of limitation or fear or concern about what others think about me or how I'm seen, then you're going to be caught in that. But we never have to worry about. What were you worried about?
What was I worried about? I was worried about when you said create, we were talking about creating the new world.
Okay, yeah.
And you said create what you want. And my limited but blessed, precious experience of awake awareness is that once I remember myself as awake awareness, there ain't no wants.
Right.
And
Exactly.
and life is arising,
That's right. Yeah.
and I'm welcoming it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and so your frequency at that point is simply the full acknowledgement of true nature as awareness and the potentiality of that. I mean, you know, what we'll tend to do with our minds is we talk about and kind of create an image or a diagram of reality. It can seem to be very linear sequential, but it's not that. It has an effulgence to it, and it's like it's through frequency, and things show up. You know, with everybody I work with, we talk about synchronicity and serendipity and these, and you know, right now, if I were to do that, my kind of third grade version of physics, it would sort of point towards entanglement theory, where anything of a right frequency is very close energetically to whatever else is resonant with it, and then it materializes, because that's the nature. You know, the frequency comes and then it gets embodied in an apparent other person or a circumstance or a situation. So there really is a fail-safe, and it really is frequency rules, and you as you're noting your experience of the relaxing into your true nature as awake awareness, the mind gets to be secondary, and your priority then becomes that peaceful expanse of awareness that you live and breathe and have your being out of and in, and you don't have to worry about the other part.
Thank you. Thank you, Pali. Thank you.
Yeah, so my only answer today is don't worry, be happy. That's it.
We have about 10 more minutes. If anybody else has a question before we go into meditation.
What did I do?
It's a remote, you don't need it.
Okay, I don't need it. Yeah, the kind of cliff notes on you create your own reality. The kind of bottom line, the whole story is we create our experience, not necessarily the external appearancy of it, but we create our experience by who we are being to ourselves, who we are taking ourselves to be. That's why the work with the 6 steps and bringing into awareness this configuration of the limitation of our woundedness is so important, because if we don't consciously choose, if when we're caught in difficult circumstances or limitation, if we don't consciously choose to look at that, it's going to feel very familiar. It's more than one lifetime. And so you'll have a tendency just to go along with it. But if you're going along with that limitation, then you are inputting into the quantum field, you're inputting into what's going to show up as your reality, one more iteration of that same configuration. I'm not good enough, or I don't matter. So at some point we have to, this is what using triggers to access the early wounded identity. That's why it's so helpful. It's so, I mean, when I found it, I thought it was like a miracle to realize that, and I had sort of had an experience of it that was not as specific as the 6 steps with the Byron Katie work, but knowing that what you're thinking, what you're believing is causing your experience. But when we get to the heart of what's created the distortion field through our early identity conclusion, then we are now awareness observing that. And that alone can begin to relieve you of your belief in and experience of, I'm a piece of shit, or I don't matter, or I'm no good. So that's why the information in the external, whether it's an exchange with an apparent other, body-mind unit. I always love Lily Tomlin's statement, we're all in this alone. So there's an apparent other there that I'm having this interaction with, but I'm actually, unless it's peaceful and sensing the ease and the already what's true connection, if it's anything other than that, then I'm in the distortion field of my woundedness. If it don't feel good, it's not true. Yeah.
Polly, with how Lily was saying the flicker
Yeah,
coming in and out, is that really an illusion that we would be going in and out?
totally. Yeah. Everything except what's true, which is awake awareness, is consciousness. And the objects that show up in it are that, but it's going to be a creation. It's going to, what did you call it? A what?
A flicker,
A
what
flicker?
what Lily was calling, she
Is it an-
flickers in and out.
Right.
And I was wondering, is she really flickering in and out, or just her thought says that she's flickering in and out?
Right. Well, it turns out that there's not much distinction, because you'll be held by whatever is holding you regarding it, right? If you feel like it took me out of my true nature and now I'm caught out there, then it's done. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. It's just the experience through the lens of the early conclusion against ourselves.
So then to do the 6 steps when you pulled out because you're triggered.
Yeah.
When you pull out, then you do the 6 steps and then you go, oh, and you expose that it wasn't really a snake, it was a rope.
That's right.
You're back in, and then it was never existed that you were not there in the first place, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like you really ever left then once you expose it.
Exactly. That's right. And we never do. We never do. But the illusion is powerful.
Yeah,
We create out of the image of how creation occurs. In other words, we're made in the image of what we call God, how creation occurs. That's how we create, right? And if we create based in a lie, we have the power to create, as this planet makes clear, difficulty and insane suffering.
Takes so much self-love, discipline, awake awareness to actually notice in that moment when that flicker happens and you're pulled out and the fear's running, to actually be able to go, hold on, wait a second here. This isn't truth. When I'm in truth and awake awareness, that's not reality. I've gone off somewhere. And it takes so much. I don't know for me, it's self-love.
That's
Just
right, that's
so
true.
much love
Yeah.
that I would love myself enough to go, wait, that's you're putting energy into something that's not true right now. That's why I think my suffering had gotten so frequent that I went, stop.
Mhm.
We got to find another way here.
Right. That's it.
This isn't going to work.
Right.
So as soon as that comes up, that's my cue. Okay, step up into the awareness, let go of the judgment, the story that if there's a problem, just be with this as it is, without any story that something's wrong, and then it all disappears, and it was like, wow.
It's so beautiful,
That
Gracie.
was- and
That's
like-
exactly the alert that you're
Yes.
awaiting for.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, in the dropping of the last bits and pieces of the craziness for this body mind unit, it was Katie's teaching. If you're suffering, you're believing something that's not true, which is what you just described.
and the point that I was speaking up about was that it really takes, we are aware that it's happening, but it takes something to go, I'm gonna affect this in some way more positively,
Right.
in truth right now.
You have to have a toehold into self-regard.
Yes, something, yes. And I think that's the value of the suffering is I get to decide if I want that or not. I get to go, do I want that or no, that's not my choice right now.
Yeah.
So this is a good time to pause and shift around to prepare for meditation. Inviting everyone who's able to make a donation to Pali for her support and well-being through Venmo or PayPal. And we will be meeting at this time again next week. Goddess willing.
Right.
Yeah, thank you all so much. Thank you, Polly.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
We're gonna go. Happy Easter. and
Happy Easter. Happy
Passover.
Passover. Yes, thank you.
We're gonna be going into a 45-minute silent meditation. You're welcome to stay or leave as you like.
Good to see you tonight.
You have a timer? Is everybody who's staying here now or does somebody need to leave?
coming back here?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Polly. Thank you so much.
Sorry, Joe.
So is everybody here? Together? Coming home. So it is. Namaste.
Sounds so-